are now listening to Fighting for Your Life podcast. I am your host, Miguel Ramirez. And on today's episode, you guys get to know a little bit more about me. And to do that, I have my beautiful co-host for this episode, my wife, Sonja Ramirez. What's up, babe? Welcome to Fighting for Your Life podcast.
Thank you. I feel like I should have my gi on.
Yeah. And you can be on this podcast because you have taken some Jiu Jitsu classes here and there.
I did some kickboxing.
And we were rolling around. We roll around from time to time, you know? Yeah, you did some kickboxing. Dude, you freaking punch and kick like a mule. Dude, it was impressive how hard you freaking punch and kick.
Aw.
Yeah, no, for real.
Babe.
Yeah. It's been cool.
I have to kick you again in the head.
Yeah, it's funny because I've in the past probably not the best like husband type shit, but like for like Mother's Day,
tell us more.
It'll be like Mother's Day or Valentine's Day, and you get like a set of boxing gloves.
Dude, I like my boxing gloves.
Or like a boxing pad so that you can punch me in the ribs.
Dude,
and punch me and hit me with the jabs in the chest and the mitts, you know, so that we can throw down a little bit. Any hubbies
out there that, you know. Yeah, I think it's a great gift, actually. What woman does not want to punch her husband every now and again?
That is true. That is true.
So it's a perfect combination.
Yeah. So we really are about that life.
It's funny because when I was really into it, we would be in the front because Miguel did buy me the chest protector. Yes.
Well, for me. Yes. I bought it for you so that I could wear it. Out.
But we'll be out in the front yard. And throwing down, just hitting gloves. And,
it was fun.
Yeah.
Scaring the neighbors.
Yeah. But imagine walking out your front yard and seeing your neighbors out in the front.
And then on a different day, the kids are choking each other in the front with the gis on.
Yep. Out with the mats.
Yeah.
Mats out. So, it's pretty cool. Fun. Yeah.
But, so I decided for one, just to kind of give you guys an update on the podcast and everything, there's a lot of really cool stuff that I've been working on. There's a lot of interviews and guests that I've been working on that I'm excited for. One of them is the new gym that we just moved to, Revive. George Guerrero, he's opening up a new spot, and we had competitions yesterday, so there's been a lot going on. But I'm looking forward to having him on. And, kind of sharing his story because he's, it's been awesome, like watching him open up his first gym and now opening up a bigger spot. And he started it from his garage, just teaching people in his neighborhood.
Yes.
And built it into his business that he has now.
What he's doing today.
And yesterday we were all there, just tearing down walls and, picking up carpet and, taking wheelbarrows of trash out to the dumpsters. And it's like, we've seen it so many times before. It's just, it's always awesome to see.
I wanted to ask you, because our children have been practicing, been in Jiu Jitsu since they were little.
Yeah.
What made you decide to join them? And I remember we both joined at once. We were all practicing at once. But what within you made that decision that this is something that you want to focus on?
We were talking this morning about there's a lot of things that I do or that I've tried, that I've done, that I can tell that there's something about me that makes it easy for me to pick a lot of things up. Not certain things, but a lot of things. Like if I put a little bit of focus, a little bit of effort, or I do something long enough, I can figure some things out, and I can be not just good, but probably better than most. Whether it's music, whether it's sheet metal stuff at work, whether it's whatever. Jiu-Jitsu is one of these things that when you see it and you're like trying to put together like what they're doing, you can watch it and see it and be like, dude, I can see what they're trying to do. But you also understand that it's always different. It's always different. And, over the years, also different experiences, boxing, boxing is difficult. It's not easy.
Yeah.
And watching, when you know what you're looking at, somebody like Floyd Mayweather or whatever, when you watch them, like punches are just like whizzing by their head at like millimeters, or like they're grazing them, but they're not hitting them in any way that affects them. And then bam, bam, they're like counter punching. And if you've ever done anything like that, like you realize how difficult, and like the zone and the focus and the dedication, like that shit is all showing up right then in that moment.
I almost feel like you have to have like a certain, like we all learn differently.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I almost feel like you have to have, and I don't know how to describe this, but it's like those that are good at chess would be great at jiu-jitsu, I almost feel.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people feel that way. Yeah.
Right? Like for me, when I was practicing, it took me a lot longer to learn a certain submission than it would someone else that has that type of brain like yourself. Because I go with the flow. I'm a bigger picture kind of person, right?
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to hear all the details. Just give me what is it that you're looking for? What do you want? And in jiu-jitsu, you have to have all the details, or else a certain submission is not going to work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And a lot of times it is the details that keep it from working. Yeah.
Yeah. And
you're missing this, something small.
Yeah. So when you made that decision to start practicing jiu-jitsu, and do you remember when you first got into it, like how you felt? Do you remember how you felt as a white belt?
Oh, this is going to fucking suck. It's one of those things, because like I understood there's this thing that you understand the value of how difficult this is. This is not, if you get good at this, it's just an example of what you're capable of what you're willing to do. I mean, look at any black belt that we have. They've all been through shit. They've been banged up. They've been out. They've come back. They've probably almost quit. They've thought about maybe stopping after certain injuries. Maybe some don't. Some do, some don't. But nobody gets to the level of mastery, which is what you would say a black belt is, without going through all of that stuff. And there's... what is it? It's just like a satisfaction. It's not happy, feels like it does feel good.
Yeah.
But it's a different feel good. It's a satisfaction. It's a worthiness. It's something that's worthy. I don't know. It's weird.
I remember when we took the kids.
Before you move on, there was something that you were saying that it's like chess.
Yes.
And something that was really cool that I learned about not too long ago was back in the day. I mean, I like to say of a certain age, which means you're getting older, but
you're getting wiser.
You're getting wiser. But yeah, I'm 40. Back in the day, like in the 90s, I think, actually it's probably on here somewhere, but there was a movie called, it was Searching for Bobby Fischer. Yeah. Searching for Bobby Fischer. Bobby Fischer was an old chess grandmaster, and there was a little boy that I can't remember exactly the name of the story, like how the story goes, but there's this kid that shows like he's like a genius potential in becoming a chess master, and the story is really cool. Anyway, the movie's all about chess, but the movie is based off of a real story of this kid, and that kid became a chess grandmaster and is a jiu-jitsu black belt.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So there is something about that connection.
Now I can totally see that. Like I can see, and with the type of work you do, like for a living, I can see how this would just, the way your mind works, it's absolutely amazing. And I had no doubt that you would be great at jiu-jitsu.
Well, I'm working on it. I don't know why,
but the mindset, your mindset.
Yeah, it's a matter of time.
Right. And so what I was going to ask you is, for those of you that are parents that have children in jiu-jitsu, I remember when you and I were sitting on the sidelines, right? Or just out there watching the children. And there were times where you would get like so frustrated, but you were not in jiu-jitsu. You weren't on the mats.
Yeah.
Right? Do you recall when you were that?
Yeah. And a lot of parents go through that.
And when you made the decision to start practicing jiu-jitsu or start doing jiu-jitsu, was there that thought of, oh, I understand, or like that deeper understanding of what the kids are going through when they are on the mat, when they're rolling or learning?
Yeah, for sure. I think I've always been kind of pretty aware, and I've always also kind of understood that I know I can see what they're doing. Kind of like my first submission was something that I learned before I ever did jiu-jitsu. Like the first submission that I ever got in a competition, and I actually got that submission in training before I was taught it. Like actually somebody showing me. I learned it by watching somebody teach the kids how to do it. And I was like, ooh, I like that. And then the kids were getting good at it. And I remember I was like, just by watching them, I was like, I can see the way the move works and what you're trying to achieve and how I can choke somebody like that. But I always had this feeling. So like when I would tell the kids, I'm like, you got to do this. You got to put your hips down. You got to do whatever, because I can kind of see what the purpose of the move is. But I always had the feeling that there's something that I'm just not going to understand until I do it myself. And that is part of, just what you don't get. Like you can watch it and you could be a black belt in your brain. I'm a black belt in my brain. Like I can see it as like, ooh, you can do this and you can do that and roll this way and do it. Good luck doing that shit when somebody's trying to choke you and they can feel. It's weird. It's just weird. Yeah.
Yeah, it's different when you're actually on the mat. So what maybe tips you can give to parents that don't practice jiu-jitsu, that have children in jiu-jitsu, that are maybe kind of hard on them?
Especially if you don't practice jiu-jitsu yourself, there's no way for you to know what that's like, what it's like to have somebody on top of you and to want them not to be on top of you anymore. I can tell you, like when you can't do anything about it. Yeah. Like when I was, and I only did it for a couple months or something like that. I don't remember. Yeah. But it's like, for me, it was difficult to understand, like, because it's almost like a puzzle, like a chest. When you see the person moving, I don't even know what all the pieces are. It's like you already have to have in your mind. It's like you have to be like one step ahead. Yeah. Right? Yeah, you're setting people up or trying not to get caught in a trap, Yeah. And I just remember feeling like frazzled, like what the fuck? Yeah. Yeah, first step is defense. Yeah. Just, keep yourself safe, keep your elbows in so that you can kind of, like, what is happening? Okay, hold on a second. Protect my neck, Yeah. That's just kind of like the very basics, the beginning. Yep. So being a blue belt now. Yeah. How does that feel? Feels amazing. How does it feel? We were talking about, we were having a conversation. I remember when you received your last stripe. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't feel too great about it, because it was, I've wasted a lot of time. And at that point, I was at a time where it is what it is. I probably got a stripe for showing up. Not, at least I feel. Maybe I did something that day that coach saw that was like, wow, that was a nice move. Maybe I get a fucking nice move sometimes. I don't see coach doing that. No, the bottom line is how you see yourself. Exactly. And I appreciate that other people see me in a certain way. But at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is how I see myself. And I did not see myself as a 3-stripe blue belt. You know, like my skills weren't there. My training, my cardio, like none of it was where it needed to be, you know? But little by little, you know, this is part of those. I mean, we talk about on our podcast on Opposites Attract about accepting things that there's nothing you can do about. There's certain things that you just can't do anything about. And sometimes your coach promotes you and there's nothing you can do about it. You accept it and then you work at it. You earn it for yourself because that's what really matters.
Is how you feel about yourself.
You know, I was thinking about this recently because in other fighting sports like boxing, kickboxing, there's no belts. It's not like you get stripes on your gloves.
Right.
You know? Mm-hmm. So how do you even know that you're getting bet? Like, do you need to know? Do you need a belt? A lot of times, no-gi, there's no belts. Like, if it's a school that primarily does no-gi, there may not be any belts at all. You're just training.
And competing.
We're grappling. We're grapplers. And some people are better than others. You know?
Yeah. I didn't even think about that.
And sometimes, and I don't think that's a bad thing. But I think it can have its consequences, like unintended consequences where there is this hierarchy. Maybe. Right. Mm-hmm. You know? I'm supposed to, because I'm a 3-stripe blue belt. I can't lose. And then you get your shit snapped. You know, that happens.
Yeah.
But these are all lessons that we learn.
So you've competed a few times.
Yeah. Planning to compete again.
With your first competition, do you recall stepping into that ring and how you felt and the thoughts that were happening within that moment and how maybe they're different to the last competition that you had with the growth that you've had?
Yeah, I've had I've competed 3 times so far. And I'm planning on competing again in October coming up. Got to lose like 10 pounds, which these last 10 have been tough. Because of the ice cream. But I just change up a couple things and I'll be good. But the first one, I was a white belt. And it was my first tournament. And I wanted to do well. I had practiced a lot of stuff. I had trained hard. And
so you felt pretty good about yourself.
Yeah, I felt okay. I don't know if I felt good. Like I felt content with what I had done. It's a fight. Like I'm not like we watched one of the last UFCs. And there's this guy, Dustin Poirier, fought Islam. He was supposed to win because he's been the interim champ. He's like a nice guy. He's been at the top of the division for the longest time. He's like a dude from Louisiana. He's American. He's supposed to be the champ. And that is not how life goes. You know? And I know these things. Like everybody in their head is supposed to win. But that cannot be how it goes. So as long as I feel okay with the work that I put in, if I get smoked in the first round, it's okay. It is what it is. Now, luckily in my first tournament, I got a submission, I think, in the first one. I lost my second round. No, I think I won by points my first match. I lost my second match by points. And then I won my third match by submission. And I remember that the match that I lost by points, I got stuck in a spot, but I was never really like in danger of getting submitted or anything. I got stuck and I couldn't get out, and I was a white belt and I didn't know what to do. And it's like that common freaking thing that happens in tournaments. It happens in rolling. It happens in training. Where it's like you're driving home, or as soon as you get a minute to like not be fighting anymore, you're like, oh, the freaking move that I've been practicing all week. That's the one that I probably should have pulled out right then, and I forgot, you know? But at the same time, it's like I know I worked hard.
Right.
It's okay. I lost. I got bronze, third place. That's okay. Now, I competed again at blue belt. And the second tournament, I signed up. I had a bunch of weight to lose. I lost all the weight. But at blue belt, like, I think it's one of these things, like, you hit this plateau or whatever, because blue belt is like the first one that everybody wants to get to, right? There's this thing in jiu-jitsu, like, when you're white, you're a white belt, you're new, you don't know anything. Blue belt means that you've stuck around. Like, you've been around, you know a little bit more. You know, they say, like, purple belt, you're a killer. Like, you have ways that you can fuck people up. Like, you can set somebody up and then fuck them up. If you're a purple belt, you should be able to. And then brown belt, like, now you're really starting to sharpen a bunch of different things. You know pretty much all the positions. Maybe you don't do them all or whatever. And it's only a matter of time until you, that's the way it, you know, these positions are looked at. And once I hit blue belt, it was like, all right, like, this is my first major goal. And like I said, this shit ain't easy. You know, getting fucking smashed and sweating, and it's not easy. So I get to blue belt and it's like, all right, cool. I found one of the fucking blue belts now. So I take a break, but then I take a little bit longer of a break. I eat a little bit more than I should, and I'm not training the way I should. And the worst thing, the hardest thing is that you don't roll one time and it doesn't make that big of a difference. But you don't roll again. You skip rolling the next class, and then you roll a little bit, and that rolls a little bit harder because you haven't rolled.
Right.
And then you skip rolling the next time. And then, yeah, you pay attention in class. I'm not talking about myself. And then you skip rolling because that's the fucking hard shit.
Right. Yeah. That's where you're being tested. You're in your shit.
You got to fucking push sometimes. You got to, and there is a chance that you're always going to get fucking crushed. And it happens. Especially, you're still getting crushed at blue belt, you know? And so I just kind of like fucked off for probably a couple years, if I'm being honest, you know?
Yeah.
And I signed up for a tournament because I knew I probably needed to, and that helped me lose the weight. But I didn't train the way I was supposed to. I got a little bit better, made some improvements, but I think I got submitted both matches in my second tournament. And that one I was pissed. I was pissed off at myself because I just was not prepared. I let myself down.
So you know it then. So yeah, I can see. Like, if you had trained the way you felt you should have trained,
like I did in the first one,
and you lost the tournament, then it wouldn't have been as difficult because like you gave it your all.
Yeah. It's like I signed up for this thing and I fucking half-assed it. But, you know, at the same time, looking back at it, it was like, you know what? Just signing up for that tournament helped me lose 20 pounds.
That's what I was going to ask you. What did you learn?
You know,
what?
Even still, I stepped out on the mat. A lot of people don't even do that. You know, so like I was very hard on myself, and there's a balance to this stuff because you can't allow that to be, you can't allow that to make it okay. To make it okay, as long as I just get out there and fucking half-ass it, then you're going to half-ass the rest of your life. You know, so then the second tournament, I can't remember exactly. I ended up losing the second tournament. The second tournament, I also didn't feel like I was exactly where I wanted to be. But I was better than I was before.
Okay.
And in the second tournament, I did better. Like, I think, I don't think I lost any by submission. There was some that I think I almost won the match, and I think I would have won the division. But when that happened, I was like, okay, like, I don't give a shit if I'm gold, silver, bronze, like nothing. I was like, that was me with a lot more improvement still available. Like, I can get way better than this and come back. You know, and then now that it's been a few months training consistently and rolling consistently and not skipping rolls and doing it, now it's like I'm getting back to like that first tournament feeling, you know, where it's like, okay, I'm going to start putting stuff together and like really be ready. Like, and that's the thing is when you really feel ready, it's like you mentally have an answer for everything. Wherever I'm at, there's something that I can do because I've practiced it. I've trained it. And there is no positive mental fucking bullshit that you're going to do that's going to, like, I tried it my last 2 tournaments. Trust me, I had fucking positive thinking. And in my second one, I did okay. I almost, you know, maybe got a submission, whatever. But the only thing that really makes a difference is repetition, is drilling, is fighting, is just doing it, and it becomes second nature.
With everything that you're learning in jiu-jitsu, how do you apply that to your life? In every area of your life. When it comes to parenting, when it comes to being a husband, when it comes to being an employee, like.
Well, with one, there's this time facet to jiu-jitsu, especially when you find it at a certain age. You know, I didn't find jiu-jitsu when I was like 15. I found it at 30 something. You know, I think I started when I was like 34, 35. When you start later, time can run out. You can get hurt a bunch of times. And like, if your goal is to whatever, be recognized by your peers as a black belt, which feels good, you know?
Yeah.
But even still, like, that doesn't end. The journey doesn't end there. Like, you just keep teaching, showing other people, you know? But time does become a factor with injuries, especially with this sport, right? So realizing like the time that I've wasted, time that I'm wasting, time when I should be paying attention or putting in actual effort, right? And that's kind of like helped me with the kids, you know, and like not just being around, like making it useful, the time that I'm spending having a purpose, right? You know, instead of just showing up. A lot of times people talk about like in jiu-jitsu, you can just, a black belt is a white belt that just kept showing up. I don't think so.
Yeah. I've noticed with you, when you're rolling, if you are not in the present moment, if you are not aware.
You talking about me or just people rolling?
You.
Oh, like when you're watching me?
When I'm watching, well, I'm just saying, like, it doesn't seem like you can have fast jiu-jitsu. Like, you have to be
fast. Like, oh, there's fast.
Like, you can't. What I'm saying is, you have to be aware of you. You have to be aware of the other person. You can't be thinking about yesterday.
Oh no.
You can't be thinking about tomorrow. Like, you are in the present moment, very aware. And I feel that that is something that has also helped you in life. Being with us, like being with the children, just taking time to breathe. Because if you are a spaz in jiu-jitsu, your ass is like going to be
something's going to get snatched
right?
up.
Like, yeah. You know, so I feel that jiu-jitsu has also helped you really to slow down and to be in the present moment and more aware of you.
Yeah. Thanks, babe. Yeah, I think it has helped with that too. For sure. For a lot of people, it's like a form of kind of like meditation because, like you said, you can't really think about anything else. It's kind of like surfing. It's weird. I remember that from surfing when I was a kid, just like sitting in the ocean waiting for a wave. But it's like in that moment, you're not really thinking about anything except for the split second that you think about getting eaten by a shark or something, you know? But for the most part, you're just kind of like just being in the water.
And it takes a lot of vulnerability.
Yeah.
Right?
Dude, a couple, like maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, something like that. I was out training in Michigan. And this is like when I had to like really think about the big picture. Not that, like, for me, I try to be pretty aware of myself and like my thinking, right? So I really don't, in most cases, don't really care what other people think about me. Which kind of makes it like when something happens that other people might feel a certain way about, it kind of makes it funny, you know? Mm-hmm. But I was training in Michigan, and dude, it was hot. And I don't know, like, I've had this thing where, I don't know if it's like a medical issue, but in the past, like a couple of years ago, I would train, and any little exertion, I would start getting a little tired or moving a little bit more than just kind of like standing around. And I would start dry heaving, like, like I'm going to freaking throw up. And it's kind of come and gone. And I kind of figured, like, if I just keep training and keep, fighting, like, maybe I can push through it, or it'll just go away over time. And it kind of did. It pretty much did. But a few weeks ago, it seemed like something happened, and I'm in Michigan visiting a place I've never been to, don't know anybody. Like, I just find these people on Yelp or Google or whatever. And I'm like, hey, you guys like to fight? I'm like, me too. Can I come by? So I show up, we do the class. Everybody's super nice. And then afterward, we start rolling, and like, I'm getting tired, like hyperventilating. Not like the thing is, it's not even crazy, but I'm just kind of like,
it's very subtle,
breathing heavy. I'm working, I'm moving. It's nothing nuts. But all of a sudden, like, I feel like I think I feel like I'm gonna start dry heaving. Like, I'm getting that freaking feeling in my stomach. I'm like, this fucking sucks. And then all of a sudden, like, the dude grabs me, and it wasn't even a submission or anything. Like, I tap, and I just like ran out the front door, and like, they had bushes in the front. Like, I just literally just freaking threw up in the bushes, like threw up right in the bushes. And then I have to go back inside to the gym where like, they just met
visiting
me freaking 35 minutes ago. And I'm like, where's your guys' bathroom? Do you guys have like water somewhere? Because I got a mess that I need to clean up. They're like, what the fuck? Is that the guy that came to visit? That's kind of like what I'm thinking in my head. But I'm like, fuck it. Who gives a shit? I got 2 bottles of water here. I ran to the bathroom, filled up my 2 1-liter bottles of water. I sprayed off whatever I, was over there, wiped my mouth, swished some water around, and went back out and finished another roll. But it's like, for some people, they wouldn't even go to other gyms because they're worried about what it's going to be like. You can get the feel for it. Mm-hmm. Like, there's some places where people do want to beat you up. Like, you show up and they want to beat you up or whatever, but you can get the feel for most places, right? Yeah. And you can always tap. Like, I don't give a fuck. I'll just tap and be like, dude, you're crazy. I got to go to work tomorrow. Right. Like, I'm not trying to get my fucking head broken.
Right.
Like, this isn't the ADCC freaking world tournaments. Like, we could do that if we sign up for that, but this is Tuesday, motherfucker. Like, I'm out, tap, It doesn't mean we can't have a hard roll, but some people get crazy, and some people have an ego, and it's like, nah, I'm good.
Right. So visiting these other jiu-jitsu gyms out of state, what would you say was maybe the biggest aha moment that you had, or maybe the biggest lesson, things that you've learned from going out of state and practicing?
Yeah. The 2 coolest things that I've noticed is just the jiu-jitsu community. I've heard, like I just said, about the gyms where people, like, you show up and it's like, oh, this is our chance to try all our shit on this guy, you know? But then there's other places where it's like, oh shit, look, we got a visitor, and let's see what they know. Let's show them some of our stuff. Let's see where they're from and get to know them a little bit.
Right.
And luckily I've been to a bunch of different places around the country, and every place that I've been to has been like that.
Really?
Everybody's been super cool, very similar to our gym here. Mm-hmm. Like, everybody's very welcoming and friendly and willing to show you stuff. And I always try to like something simple, like, not something that is like an elaborate whatever, just like a simple technique that I know. Like, I try to show somebody while I'm there, so that they learn something from something that I know, because they don't get to see that. And that's the other thing, is that people's styles are different.
That's what I was going to ask you.
You know, and that's why I can go to a place and be a blue belt and show them something that they don't normally see, because their coach is good at what they do. And a lot of times that's what people will teach. You know, they teach what they're good at, or their coaches of a certain size or whatever, you know. So that's kind of how their jiu-jitsu style is at the school.
So it's helped you to also learn some new submissions.
Yeah. Learn new submissions, fighting from different positions, you know, just different moves.
I wonder, because I know Coach does that a lot, like where he goes, or it seems like a lot of them do.
Our
like
school,
if they travel, then they go visit other gyms.
Yeah. Our school, some schools, they have an issue with that, but I don't see, if you have an issue with that, it probably, you know, that's probably something to be wary of, because why would your instructor not want you to go learn somewhere else?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Because I'm sure what you learn.
Unless they have an ego and they're worried about, you know, you're over there wearing their stuff, making them look bad and all this other stuff. It's like, well, you know, it is what it is. You know, we're all just, we got jobs and shit, you know, like the fuck.
Yeah. What I've noticed is that the community, you know, the tribe, I like to call it, the community that you guys build within jiu-jitsu, it's like another family.
Yeah.
Right? Like we've gotten some, you know, good friends from, you know, from the gym.
Yeah, for sure. No, and it's also been awesome, like traveling around the country and, you know, making friends with people in Connecticut and in California, and then like just all of our gyms here, like all the different gyms that have opened up, and just hopping around from place to place. It's been cool. And I'm looking forward to doing that more too. And getting a bunch of the guys from the other gyms also here on the podcast.
Yeah.
So
you used to talk about a while back, I don't know if you still feel the same way. I think I kind of know, but you talked about possibly opening up a gym or, you know, doing something in that.
Oh God, I don't want to do that.
How are you feeling about that now?
Yo. No. You know what has kind of been more of a thing is like a retreat type of thing.
Yeah.
That would be kind of cool. I don't want to do a school. No, that is too much. It's mucho.
A lot of responsibility.
No, not that I wouldn't. I mean, obviously I would always be connected to our schools or whatever.
Right.
And I do enjoy teaching and helping the kids and, you know, helping other people. Like I really do enjoy that. But dude, it's a big commitment.
Yeah,
it is.
No,
and,
for sure.
And for the ones that like, that is their passion. That's what they want to do, man. Like that is awesome. And man, that's gotta feel amazing. Like having your school and watching your guys compete and watching people grow. Like it's, well, I don't know. You never know. Know. You know, because like we were talking about on our last podcast, like there's always, like right now, shit's crazy. You know, I'm working on getting other interviews and working on our podcast, and I go to work and we're growing your business and all this other stuff. And eventually, who knows, like maybe we have a little more money in the bank. The kids aren't living at home anymore. I have a little bit more time on my hands or something.
Right.
Like who knows what might happen.
Who knows what tomorrow brings? But for now, how you are feeling es mucho.
Es mucho.
It's a lot.
You know, and you know, I think a lot of times it maybe starts with like teaching. Like, hey, you know what? Maybe I'll teach the morning class because I'm not doing anything in the morning. Right. And then, you know.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
And you are a great trainer. I was actually just sharing this with a gentleman that I met at the that certification I was taking this weekend, because he owns an academy and it's MMA. And I was telling him, I'm like, yeah, my husband is an amazing trainer.
Thanks,
you know,
babe.
like you would be really good at that. But just because you're good at something doesn't mean that you should do it. Like only you know you.
I would enjoy that. I really would enjoy that. But maybe like a retreat setting where it's like 3 days, 4 days in a weekend.
So how does that look like since you brought it up? What does that look like?
Well, people are doing that now.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I host retreats.
Yeah, you're hosting retreats.
So,
but people are doing that now. Like they're hosting jiu-jitsu retreats. There's one, what is it? Jiu-jitsu Globetrotters. Like they set them up all around the country or around the world, I think. And they do retreats in all kinds of cool places. Jocko has his retreats up in Maine that he does jiu-jitsu. I think it's mainly a jiu-jitsu retreat.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd be cool.
So you'll be in the middle of a beautiful place getting the shit beat out of you.
Like the samurais. Like the samurais. That'd be cool. Real quick, I mean, we're already 40 minutes into this thing. I wanted to give a shout out to everybody that competed at the Arizona State Jiu Jitsu tournament. Yeah, like I said, we had the entire team out there just from all the different schools. And
so you want to name the schools?
Yeah, we had Coach Carlos Farias Jiu Jitsu. We had
in Mesa.
Out in Northeast Mesa. We also had Revive, which is the school that I just recently switched to from Coach Carlos's, which is out in East Mesa, out by Apache Junction. We have Rick Centron Jiu-Jitsu, which is in Chandler, and you got Rejuve Eric's Rejuve right next door, where they have the cold plunges and the saunas and the
all that good stuff.
Hot tub, like all that stuff. Yeah, just to be able to recover, and yeah, they got a cool setup. We had Patriot Martial Arts. I think they're out in Santan. Okay. But yeah, like we had guys from all the different schools competing, and I was telling you that I got a bunch of videos, but there was a time where I was just kind of like just watching, right?
Right.
And I was like, damn, I missed this opportunity. But there was like in the middle, like when you're in the crowd, you're on the outsides. Yeah. And then down the center row is where all the coaches are and all the competitors are. And, you know, I've mentioned it on this podcast before, like our coach has built something here with his jiu-jitsu and everything. And there was just a moment where like just a bunch of our guys were just lined, like eight or nine of them, just lined up next to each other, just all talking to each other, you know, like just interacting in, you know, two guys over here, two guys over there, one guy's holding another guy, one guy's getting ready to compete, another guy's also in a gi, you know, so I wish I would have got a picture of that, but I missed it.
So you did not miss it. Yeah. It's within you.
Yeah.
So while you're sitting back and you're having this moment, that's what you're having this moment, and you're seeing all these amazing men that are your friends, right? And this community, everyone is there to support each other. Every time a different location is opened, we are all there, right? We are all there supporting each other. The kids are there, you know, the women are there.
Up, cleaning stuff up.
Yeah.
Bringing food.
Yeah. And so as you're having this moment and you're seeing Carlos Ferris, who is the coach of all coaches, right? And all these other gentlemen are his black belts or individuals that have opened
other
up
coaches,
sister schools or whatever you guys call them, gyms, you know, and you're having this moment. What is going through you? What are you feeling like in that moment? Because you are a part of them.
Yeah. Man, that's it's one of those, like, that's your team.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like it's jiu-jitsu though, like we are fighting and trying to choke each other.
In a loving way.
In a loving way, but at a tournament, you're not fighting your team.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I mean, guys always want to take it up a level, right? Like those are your battle buddies. Those are your warriors, the people you fight with.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You and I were watching this show. What was it? The show with all the school where, you know, it's this little school, a laundromat.
Oh, the Daisy Fresh, the jiu-jitsu guys, Daisy Fresh, the Pedigo submission fighting team.
Yeah, we were watching them and they were competing, and they were talking about how most schools or gyms don't like to compete with each other, but because of how they were, I don't know, like the way they work together. I mean, seeing them and how close they are, it's such a beautiful like family dynamic, and because they have a common goal, right, to win this thing, like to take it. They decided that they were going to fight each other, like for
first and second.
And it was, listening to them, it's not coming from an egocentric space.
I'm the best.
Right. It's not coming from that. It's coming from we are. And because we know we are, like we are okay doing this in order for the common goal.
And so be it. Whoever wins, so be it. Right. And no, that was the Pedigo submission fighting the Daisy Fresh guys. The head coach, Heath Pedigo, he was like explaining that. And it's like, yeah, they let them fight it out and see who is the best. And I was thinking about that a little bit afterward, and I was like, dude, that is like a super cool idea, because you do have some teams like, I'm not fighting my teammate. Right. I just won't do it. But if you really think about it, and you have the number one guy, how many times has the number one guy, they're from the same school, how many times has he fought the number two guy? The only reason the number one guy is as good as he is probably because he fought the number two guy so much. You know, and the number two guy is the number two guy because he's fought the number one guy so many freaking times. You know, like, so they couldn't be, and they're all part of the same team. Right. It's like, we won. Right. Yeah. You know?
And when you're watching that, you can feel the love and the support that they have for each other.
Which is why for that team, what they wanted more than anything was to win the team trophy. That's what they wanted. That was their mission. Their goal is to win the team trophy for their coach.
Right.
Yeah. It's a cool thing.
Yeah. And that's what you were feeling.
Yeah.
When you were stepping back, you were being the witness. It's kind of having that panoramic view of the team.
Yeah.
And
I wish like that would have been a hell of a picture or a painting or something.
Yeah.
Would have been cool.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of different lessons, a lot of different opportunities to grow in this jiu-jitsu stuff.
Yeah. I see it with their children as well. Especially like now that you guys have been going pretty consistent. You know, Audrey now, she'll roll with you, and you know, just seeing you guys grow and become and do, you know, and listening to the conversations at dinner. Like, hey, how'd you do?
Yeah.
You know, like, how'd you do? How'd you feel? How do you feel?
Yeah. One thing, talking about like how you're feeling and all that. I was kind of thinking about yesterday, like seeing some of the guys competing, and you know, like I mentioned on here, I've competed, I've won, I've lost, and there's times that you feel like shit when you lose. Like I mentioned, like I felt like shit when I lost. But I think sometimes for some people, like they take it in a certain way. And earlier in the week, we had an issue with Audrey where she was kind of feeling like she's just not good, you know?
Right.
And people take this stuff super serious, you know? And maybe for some, like if you're a jiu-jitsu competitor where like you have an ability and your goal is to be world champion or whatever, then maybe you take it a little bit more serious than most or whatever, but it is what it is, you know? And I just hope sometimes that people don't take it so serious that it's part of their identity. I don't know. Like I love jiu-jitsu. It is part of me.
Right.
But it doesn't make me who I am. I'm way bigger than just jiu-jitsu, you know? And like, I hope that other people understand that too. Like, even if they lose, like, dude, you're a great dad. You're a great mom. You're great at like a great friend. You know, you're a great sister, brother, whatever. Like, okay, you got fucking beat in jiu-jitsu.
Right.
You know, it's not that serious.
Yeah. It seems like when you have been part of jiu-jitsu, there are many lessons that go in it, and it takes mind, body, and spirit to build that feeling of being complete. But that rolls into your life if you're really seeing it from, like, if you're taking in the lessons, right? Like, you're just taking in the lessons.
If you're paying
and
attention
depending
to it.
on your coach too. I feel that it also, is also, it depends on the coach and the community and the team that is being built and the foundation of the gym that you're stepping into. So I almost feel like it's pretty important that when you step into a gym to make sure that that gym is for you, that this community is for you. And if it's not, then find one that is for you.
Yeah.
Because there's so much that you will learn in jiu-jitsu if you get into the right community.
Yep. And they're out there. There's a bunch of them. Yeah, like I said, I think the way that I've been successful finding these places is, for one, like I'll Google places and I'll look on Yelp. But all right, so you know me.
I know you.
I'm very skeptical of stuff.
Uh-huh.
And martial arts is something to be skeptical of. You can be. Because there's a lot of shit out there. Mm-hmm. So, especially like if I'm traveling to smaller places where there's not big cities, you can find jiu-jitsu and it's like, okay, there's jiu-jitsu schools around here. But you start going to a smaller town and you might start running into some shit. And it's like, I don't want to like show up to a school. Like, I want to go do jiu-jitsu.
Right.
I want to fight. And, so the first thing that I'll do is I start looking at reviews of places. And if I look in the pictures and I see that they go to tournaments, like the local tournaments, and they're competing, then that usually is a pretty good indicator that they do real jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
Like if they got pictures and it says like, we do jiu-jitsu, but then you look at their pictures and they're holding like a staff or, a sword with the little flag hanging down at the bottom of it, and it's like, well, they do part of jiu-jitsu and then they do a bunch of this other shit, and they probably don't even really do jiu-jitsu. They just think they do something like, oh, we hold somebody like this, and that's jiu-jitsu, that's our stuff. So I think just kind of like find and then giving the places a call, and then you just kind of get a feeling for like their drop-in rate, or how do you guys handle visitors or whatever, do you guys welcome, and just kind of talking to the people, and they're usually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Or you can get a feel for it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
But yeah, I mean, this has been it's been fun, like just the whole martial arts journey. I wanted to kind of share real quick before we get out of here. Because I've had guests since the beginning of the show starting. And I haven't really had a chance to kind of share if you guys have looked at the art for the podcast, because like everything that I do, I like for it to have meanings, and I don't know, I guess that's kind of like the way humans are. We like to find meanings for things and make things have meanings. And when I was designing the art for the podcast, I wanted it just like in my head. I had a picture of like just a gym, being in a gym background. At first, it was kind of like a realistic picture, like it was just like maybe black and white in the back. Maybe there's a boxing gym or just mats with heavy bags or something. And then just like training equipment that's just like there. And maybe like I was thinking like the bag has the logo of the gym or something like that. So that's kind of like where the origin of the idea of the podcast art. And then because it is fighting for your life and I practice jiu-jitsu, the circle logo, I put all the different colors of the jiu-jitsu belts on it. And then on the water bottle, I put like the different things that I train, and it's got like our gym. And I think I'm going to have to add probably Revive on there,
Yes.
But we have Carlos Farias Jiu-Jitsu on the water bottle. And I was going to put the PAL, the Police Athletic League, where I used to box when I was a kid, because I boxed for, I don't know, like 2 or 3 years as a little kid. But they got copyrights and stuff, so I didn't want to get sued. So I just put boxing gloves. And then the other sticker on the water bottle of the guy kicking is my dad. You know, because he's the one that was the beginning of my martial arts.
Yes, and if you would like to hear his story, do you remember what episode?
Episodes 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
Like I said, I like things to have meaning.
Right.
And I was like, if I'm going to start a fighting podcast, he is the origin of my fighting story.
Yeah.
You know?
By the way, why did you start a fighting podcast? And where did the name come from?
So, yeah, I think this is a second podcast that we're recording today. I don't know if we were talking about it on this one or on the last one. But if we didn't talk about it on this one, you got to go listen to Opposites Attract podcast. But we were talking about like how I've never been somebody that like looks for a fight, right?
Right.
Or some kids are down to fight. They've always been down to fight. I'm down to fight if I have to. I'm down to fight if I feel like if somebody's trying to get one over on me and that's what it's coming down to. Like if somebody's trying to take advantage of me, I'm not going to let myself get taken advantage of. And that's just kind of how I've been. But and also I've had friends of mine growing up. Like I said, my dad was a fighter. He had bags of gloves and all that stuff. And if you listen to the first episode, you can hear a little bit more about it in detail. But with his bags of gloves and mitts and all that, my friends would come over and some of them liked to fight. We were kids, boys. And they were bigger than me. I was smaller. And they were like, let's box. I'm like, fuck it, let's box. And we would just beat the crap out of each other. And it wasn't like it was never my idea to fucking box. But I would always end up boxing.
Yes.
You know, and it's like these difficult things in life. Somehow I'm always like back, you know, boxing. I ended up doing Taekwondo with my dad. I ended up doing boxing as a kid, you know, ended up joining the military, which is not fighting, but it's fight. Like, you know, right. You're fighting for the country or whatever. I was down for it, you know, after 9/11 and all the shit that happened. And then like, I've always enjoyed fighting, probably from my dad as a kid. One of my earliest memories of fighting was a VHS tape that my dad got of, it was called World Champions, and it had Muhammad Ali, it had George Foreman, it had Joe Frazier, and it was like the trilogy or like the triangle that they had between the three of them, how like one guy could beat the other guy, this guy could beat that guy, but this guy couldn't beat this guy can't beat this guy, but like, you know, and I remember also watching that and seeing these guys get older and seeing their brain damage. George Foreman was the one that seemed like he had it together. Like he could still think more. But I saw like Muhammad Ali would have trouble talking. Joe Frazier, you couldn't understand what he would say. I would love watching these guys fight. But then like I've always had that thought, like, is it worth it? Right. It's like, maybe, are you just scared? Are you saying that? But like, it is a real consideration. Like, okay, you're the greatest in the world, but you can't fucking talk. You know, so, you know, things that I've kind of thought about throughout my life. And everybody fights in their own way, you know. And for martial artists, like some people, if they didn't have this, they'd go crazy. For some people, this is a hobby. For some people, this is literally how they make a living. Right. You know? Yeah. So there's a lot of different reasons why it's fighting for your life, you know?
Yeah. It's a great name.
So
good job.
Thanks, babe. But yeah, in the future, the things that I'm working on, like I said before, we have George is going to be coming on soon from Revive Jiu Jitsu. Also, I got in touch with, if you guys have heard of Street Beefs, that's out on the East Coast. It's now out on the West Coast. Really, the way the whole thing kind of got started was just people that had issues in the hood. And instead of them, this guy, I don't know if he owned the boxing gym or something like that, but instead of going out and fighting in the streets and getting the cops called on you or shooting each other when you see each other or whatever, you come and handle it the way kids used to handle it back in the day. You put gloves on, you fight, and when it's over, it's over.
That's crazy.
But what happens is you end up having an amateur boxing gym and you get kids that are like, you know what? I wouldn't mind. Like, it's almost like sparring. He's like, I'll spar with that guy. And then there's a guy from another gym. And it turned into this amateur fighting thing. It's a little rough. You know, it's in backyards. They got like chain link fences and pallets that they put around.
Dude, I would like to experience that.
So I'm going to be going to an event.
You mean we?
I mean, if you want to go, I'm sure they'll let you go. Yeah, let's go.
And it's going to be in the backyard?
Yes. In July. So get ready.
In July?
Get ready, Buttercup. It's July. Oh my God. It's going to be July in Arizona. Scrapping. When? Throwing down.
Remember, we're going to Wisconsin.
It's the end. It's the end of July. On the weekend. We'll be all right.
Okay.
But yeah, so also the organizer of Street Beefs West Coast, I met up with him yesterday. Wedo, shout out to Wedo. And yeah, we're going to do an episode with him and then most likely get some of the fighters involved. And, you know, I was talking to him about like the whole purpose of this thing. Like you were asking, the purpose of the podcast is really, you know, like I mentioned on here, fighting has been a passion of mine since I've been a kid. Like somehow I've always been drawn back to it. And I think everybody has the dream of doing what they love for a living and being able to like just connect people. You know, like we had somebody on here that Mike Dome, who's a producer for Henry Cejudo and a bunch of other UFC fighters. And it's like, I have a blind grappling friend that makes beats. Maybe there's a connection there that we can make. You know, maybe through Wedo, I can meet some UFC fighters. Like we talk to comedians from time to time. That's the thing is like, I'm going to do my thing and I'm going to make connections and maybe I can make connections for other people. And then we all get a little bit better, you know? So, and we all, you know, get to live our passion at the same time.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yep. And with that, make sure you guys go to fightingforyourlifepodcast.com, subscribe on YouTube. You can watch it on YouTube and Facebook. You can find the audio on all the different podcast apps and places where you can get audio. And the best thing that you can do is share this with somebody else. Yeah, find your favorite episode and comment, like, subscribe, all that stuff.
All that good stuff.
Yep. Fightingforyourlifepodcast.com. Thanks. Talk to you guys next time.
Bye.